to see you there, here in the end of the world. Thank you, Fabi, for inviting us to this very huge and fantastic event. And again, thank you there. So let us begin. The purpose of Fabi is to foster English teachers' professional development and reflection upon our teaching practices.
So the question would be, why Freire? And we believe that our world needs Paulo Freire now more than ever. And this socio-political context in which we find ourselves at this moment, we think that it demands that we reread and converse with him. So 20 minutes for those who dare teach is an event for celebrating educators' theoretical reflections and progressive practical strategies that we believe that can demonstrate the potential of teachers to be, as Henry Giraud puts it, transformative intellectuals.
All right, so since this is a discussion, yes, we have shared with you some quotes from the 10 letters from teachers as cultural workers, letters to those who dare teach by Paulo Freire. So we can talk and reflect about our profession and the teacher's role. So in order to be more organized, please silence your microphones. And when you wish to speak, please let us know through the chat or raise your hand, yes? And so to start off, I'm going to ask my colleague Romina to read a quote from letter number 2.
Okay. So I'm going to start reading the, okay, here we are. So I'm going to start by letter number 2, which is called "Don't Let the Fear of What is Difficult Paralyze You." Indeed, fear is a right, but one to which corresponds the duty of educating it, facing it, and overcoming it. And for this quote, we thought about one question. How do we cope with overcoming fear in COVID-19 times of duty? Who would like to be the first to share and answer this question?
Let's think about it.
Let's see, I will repeat the question, right? How do we cope with overcoming fear in COVID-19 times of duty? So let's think. And let's see, who would like to answer this question? How do we cope with overcoming fear in COVID-19 times of duty?
Maybe Romy, you can start with your opinion.
There's no one there. Well, fear, I was thinking about this. I don't know. At the very beginning, it was like I was not afraid, or there was not so much fear in my case, right? But it was like all of a sudden, and I had to get ready from one day to the other for this big announcement of, well, staying at home. And it was very difficult. It was difficult, not fear, but difficult. Though I love technology, and I all the time trying to look for resources, it was difficult because I felt alone, a bit disorganized, not fear. So, but I asked for help. So a bit disorganized, a bit alone, and then days passed, and well, I started like getting more organized with the help of others, of course, but not fear. What about you? How do you overcome fear, if there is any fear around?
Yes, Gustavo. Gustavo wants to speak.
Gustavo.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
So this is my personal thing. I don't know if I'm handling or coping with fear, but I'm not letting fear happen. I'm stage of uncertainty, and I'm handling uncertainty so as not to become fear. because I don't know if I will be able to cope with fear. Yeah, so that kind of a self-defense mechanism, I don't know, but dealing with uncertainty quite well. And it's a question of positive thinking and having a positive mindset. Because
That's it.
I'm uncertain about this. So my idea is not to let uncertainty turn into fear, because fear paralyzes us.
Exactly.
But uncertainty somehow is a little bit paralyzing, but I still feel that I can manage it. That's my idea.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So
So
maybe I would like to add something. Yeah, I would like to add something.
Okay.
Right. This letter is really thought-provoking, because I mean, in this time of COVID-19, right, we have something that seems to be very concrete, that stops us from doing what we do every day, right, or the way in which we cope with things every day. So it is really something, right, that is in the middle of the thing. So it was a little bit difficult at the very beginning to understand what was going on and to cope, as Gustavo mentioned, with the uncertainty. Now I think that we feel a little bit more comfortable with the issue, right? But how many times we are in the middle of something new, right, that stops us, right, from taking decisions, right, from, let's say, enjoying, right, our profession or an activity that we really like, right? There are many situations that at the very beginning, because they are new, right, stopped us or come to be, right, like a little bit difficult to cope with at the very beginning, right? And then little by little, we feel more comfortable with it. So just that.
It's good if you have someone else, like friends or your team of teachers just helping you. I think this is what happened to me. Okay.
I think the reason why I like this quote so much and this letter so much is not just because Freire is giving us the chance to feel fear. It's all right.
Yes.
But he's calling us for action, and it is what we have done as a collective group, educators. We said, okay, we are struck by fear like the rest of the society, but we are in action, we are in praxis, we are working, and we're looking for new, maybe more interesting ways of doing what we do every day. So is this the idea that we cannot be struck by fear and then lose it. We have to balance that fear and then work, and that right that we have, we also need to remember that there are others that have the right to receive education from us. Exactly. So it's a two-way idea.
Right.
All right. Anybody else has a quote that they have read and would like to talk about from another letter?
We cannot see all of you.
No? Okay. Shall we share one? How about one from letter 4? Okay. All right. Ariel, would you help us to go to letter 4?
And someone can read it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see it in the shared screen.
Let's see.
We have to be patient because, you know, connections take a couple of minutes.
Number 3. Well, okay.
Okay. We can go with this one.
Okay, let's go to number 3.
All right.
Okay, we can do number 3, of course.
Okay. Is there anybody who would like to read? Yeah. Okay. I'd like quote number 6. Annabella.
Number 6. Okay, let's do number 6. Great.
Good, Annabella.
Here we go.
Love it.
All right. Would you like to read it, Annabella, for us?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes. Let's number 6.
Yes, number 6. I have it on my phone, so I can read it from here while you look for it. On the
Yeah.
relationship between the educator and the learners. In reality, we do not have children who drop out of school for no reason at all, as if they just decide not to stay. What we do have are conditions in school that either prevent them from coming to school or prevent them from staying in school. And I think that this is very relevant. We no longer have schools, but we still need to keep children engaged with learning. And we need to let them know that the building is not there, but we are still here. And and I think, yeah, that's it. I mean, like, we are the school, but we are the only contact they have with the school. Even with their classmates, it's our job to keep that bond with peers, with other teachers. So that is something that I'm always reflecting upon these days.
Fantastic, good. Yeah, and a question that is related to this would be, I mean, to what extent are teachers responsible for school dropouts, right? So this means what you mentioned, right? We are responsible for keeping the bond or not. And in this COVID-19 times, right, it is quite evident, right? Because what the students demand is that bond that you mentioned, right? That we say hello to them, that we take a picture and we share with them. And not only the activities, but right, this link between the teacher and the student that is so important for learning.
Exactly. Yes. I think here we have someone.
Gustavo wants to say
Leonor,
something. Leonor. Okay. Leo.
No, I just wanted to point out Leonor.
Sorry.
Okay,
was
Leo.
saying,
Okay.
what's not saying, was just doing this.
Okay. Okay, this is, I think, in relation to content, and we are responsible to a very large extent about what we teach, even though there are national guidelines in every subject. The national guidelines may tell us that we have to teach, I don't know, the verb to be. Now, how we teach it, that's our responsibility. And making it meaningful and relevant to learners, that's our responsibility as well, and it's our students' rights. So the idea is that very often we are responsible for our students dropping out or not being interested. Because if we keep on saying that what we have to do is to teach, I don't know, the verb to be or the simple present, then we are not working towards the aims of schooling, which is the education of the human being as a whole person. So very often teachers blame books and then blame governments or national guidelines. But what we do in our classrooms, that's our own responsibility.
Right. Lovely.
Definitely.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Any other letter that has called your attention that you would like to share? We have, I had mentioned letter 4 before. If you want to go back to that one, or if there is any other suggestions, please, you can write them on the chat or you can let us know. Right, we go with letter 4 then?
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, Romy, shall you please you practice this one?
Okay. So I'm going to read a quote from letter number 4 on the indispensable qualities of progressive teachers for their better performance. Tolerance is another virtue. Without it, no serious pedagogical work is possible. Without it, no authentic democratic experience is viable. Without it, all progressive educational practice denies itself. Tolerance is not, however, the irresponsible position of those who play the game of make-believe. I cannot see how one might be democratic without experiencing tolerance, coexistence with the different as a fundamental principle. And we've thought about one question. And this is the question. room for difference or otherness in the EFL classroom? Again, do we make room for difference or otherness in the EFL classroom? What do you think? Who would like to answer, share?
One at a time, we may say.
It's like the classroom. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk.
Okay, good, right. Okay, maybe she said, what do you think about that?
Sorry, I was checking the chat and doing many things at the same
At
time.
the same time, right, okay, good.
I'm so sorry.
Leonor wants to say something.
Okay,
And,
I can say.
And Patricia is saying, could you repeat the question?
I'll type it. I'll type the question.
No, read
Repetition,
it.
please.
Yes.
Read the question, please.
The question, you mean?
Yes.
Ah, yeah, that is what I want you to do because I couldn't listen
Okay,
to
can you hear?
Yeah, okay. Let's see, Patri.
Yes.
Let's go for the question.
Yes, please.
Romy, would you like to read it?
Can you listen? Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you? Because I can. Well, I have a problem with the screen, but I'm going to read the question. Right?
Good.
Do we make room for difference or otherness in the EFL classroom?
Okay,
Do we
and
make
Leonor
room
wants.
for difference or otherness in the EFL classroom?
Yes. Leonor wanted to say something.
I think that in a way, this can be related to the first question of fear. I mean, we fear as a human being. I mean, we fear what we don't know, what is absolutely new to us. And there's been this idea that differences and otherness are different cultures. I mean, we have to go and teach about, I don't know, tribes in Africa, in the middle of Africa, so as to talk about diversity and differences. And very often we fail to acknowledge the differences in our own classrooms. And we feel that we can only do intercultural awareness or intercultural activities when we focus on foreigners, what is from another country. And so in a way, we're failing to acknowledge differences, and these differences exist in every classroom simply because there are different human beings. So we can very well exploit this idea and reflect with our students on this idea of differences and how we should value and embrace diversity, because this is the very essence of being human.
Right. When we were in La Plata recently, we were talking about culture, and we were not just talking about culture as a global or umbrella term, but how in the classroom so many cultures interact within the same city and within the same classroom and within families as well. So this idea of being able to respect everybody's culture from the big sense to the smallest unit of culture.
Yes, and I agree with what you mentioned, that it is easier for us, right, to see, to cope with the difference if that difference is so far away from us, right? If it is something that is a difference at the distance, sometimes it is very difficult for, let's say, in the English class, right, to cope with that situation, right, within, right, the English classroom, right, with people from different parts of Argentina, with different cultures and traditions, right, with, let's say, different views of the world. So I think that this issue of not only seeing the difference, but acknowledging the fact that we are different, is not something that seems to be very easy to we may say, to disentangle, right? Right.
I
It would
think
be
that
something that you cannot see it at the very first time.
Sorry, can I add something? I
Sorry?
think that we language teachers are more open-minded than other teachers of other subjects.
Yes.
So we are trying, yes, to adapt to this new context in the world, but I think that we have this advantage. compared to
Definitely.
other
Yes,
teachers.
I agree with you. Yeah, at
Monica
least we have
wanted
the
to
exercise,
speak.
the
Yes,
practice, right, with
Monica.
the language.
Hello.
Right. Moni. Hi, Moni.
Yes, hi
Hello.
everybody. So happy to be sharing
Hello,
with
hello.
you. I was thinking about some of the words we've been discussing, and I thought about the connection between fear, which was one of our first words today, and this idea and this notion of otherness. And I think that I would like us to reflect as teachers about what is going to happen when we come back to the physical classroom in terms of the impact of fear in our concept of others and otherness. Because I think that this is something that is not being mentioned enough or reflected in what's happening in terms of the impact of this pandemic. And I think that this is going to be a huge cost in terms of our social awareness, the way we connect with others. Probably you've already noticed that whenever we go out and we are in contact with our social spheres, we are in fear. And I think that the connection between fear and otherness is going to deepen all these struggles that have been present in our classrooms for so long, but they will become, I think, radically evident when we get back to the classroom.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would, definitely. So I think that it would be a great opportunity, right, for us teachers, right? There is some, I am
Someone
listening to
singing.
someone
Video, music.
singing, right? Okay, good. All right. Now, just saying that, I mean, taking this as an advantage, right, to cope with this new situation, right, to being in control of these situations that are going to happen, and to prevent our students from being fearful in this new, right, they're coming back to schools, right, to help them, right, working and overcoming the fear and coping with the difference and the different attitudes and the new traditions and the ways in which we relate with others, when I say. Okay, I think that we have like 5 minutes left, so I think that we have time for one more quote. Okay. Is there anybody who would like to choose a letter, a quote, something to share? Silvana is saying number 7.
7.
All right.
Okay.
Number
5.
7.
That's it. Let's go for it. Good.
Okay.
Euge, would you like to read this one? Have you found
Oh,
it?
yes, I was. Yes, of course, definitely. Right. Okay. Here it goes. It says, the letter is letter number 7, and it's from talking to learners to talking to them and with them, from listening to learners to being heard by them. And the quote goes like this: educators need to know what happens in the world of the children with whom they work. They need to know the universe of their dreams, the language with which they skillfully defend themselves from the aggressiveness of their world, what they know independently of the school and how they know it. Interesting. So we thought about a question just to link with this quote, that is, how much does the current context influence learning? In this context, how far has the teacher-student bond become the core of learning? Okay. Silvana, would you like to add anything about this question, this quote? Sorry.
I loved the title. That was the first thing that called my attention, the part of listening to learners to being heard by them. So the first step to listen to them, so they notice that we are listening to them, we are paying attention, and then they can make this change, they shift to really listening to us, to be heard by them. That was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And could you repeat your question, please?
Yes, of course. The question is, how much does the current context influence learning? In this context, how far has the teacher-student bond become the core of learning?
Well, it is the core of learning.
Definitely.
Nowadays. It goes beyond institutions or the heads. It's the teacher, the screen, and your students, and you are making the appointments, and you are caring, trying to find the right schedule for them, and it's affecting their learning because parents are a lot around them. They need their helps. There are lots of things going around in each house, so you have to cater for all of them. I mean, you have to take into account all these things before scheduling a meeting or planning. I think we have to do more scaffolding. We have to prepare our lessons with really meaningful material. I think it changed everything, and we are the ones that are in charge. We are the one that have the most important roles now.
The quote has the word dreams in it. And it's not just, yes, I think that's part of what makes it a beautiful quote. Not just knowing their context now with all this fear and everything that's going on, but also what do they want? And going back to what Monica was saying before, what is going to happen when we get out? What is your dream? Not just your fear. Yes, what are you hoping for? What are your hopes? And what is this idea? Freire is always talking about hope and about happiness and love. Yes, it is. So how were we in the English classroom always trying to look beyond? Yes, and I think I agree absolutely, bond is core, we agree, but also we need to think of the future in a hopeful way, in a place full of dreams and love for our children. That is a part of what Freire is always talking about. All right. Anybody else would like to share their opinions in general or about this letter?
Just to finish, I think. So we would like to, I think that we are on time.
Sorry, Euge, may I?
Yes, of course, Mariano.
Please.
Right.
Please do it.
I was thinking of the previous quote as well, the question of tolerance. Tolerance is a word that I like a lot, even though Freire used it. That maybe Freire used it in the past at the time he wrote it, but maybe nowadays we should rethink or reconsider this word, because when you tolerate someone, maybe the implication is that you're in a superior position, right? Like
definitely.
I think we're lost in translation in that.
Yeah, right. The question of translation, but I mean, maybe we should rethink that. But I mean, the point I wanted to make is not exactly that.
It's respect.
Of hospitality that Derrida introduces, and how I think it's a very important term nowadays in the situation we're going through. And this idea of receiving the learner and respecting their language, right? And understood in broader terms, right? And I've got a quote here by Derrida, by his book. I've got the quote in Spanish, and it says, acoger, this is hospitality, right? Acoger al otro en su lengua, acoger al otro en su lengua es tener en cuenta naturalmente su idioma, no pedirle que renuncie a su lengua y a todo lo que esto encarna. So I think that, especially at this moment, we need to bear that in mind and maybe embrace our learners and their language and their cultures, and try to be really, really respectful of that, because otherwise we might, in a way, expel them from our classrooms. I mean, Zoom classrooms are schools in general, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Thank you, Mariano. Thank you for incorporating this idea. Yes, I agree with you. It is not just tolerance, and we wanted to keep it in that way because the translation was like that, but it was, and I mean, it was more related to respect, right, than to tolerate. In any case, I would like to to say that, I mean, the world is in our hands and that we are always responsible for what we do, right? What we do and what we don't do in our classes, right? And the minute that we are there with our students, we provide, right? We start an exchange, right, of learning from each other, and all of us bring into the classroom our worlds.
Exactly.
So really, we are very happy to share, right, these insights from a book that we love, that is Letters for Those Who Dare Teach. That is a fantastic book from Freire that I highly recommend. I mean, if you don't know Freire a lot, right, it's a good beginning to start reading him, right? And if you do know him, it's just to enjoy these letters that are, I mean, that help us, let's say, learn, or let's say to remember, to recall, right? What is the most important aspect, right? When we deal with teaching and learning, right? And that this, I mean, what we always mention, the transformative word of Freire, right? That is so fantastic because it's the end, right? This interaction of the dialogue that should be present all the time. So I am so happy that we teachers in the middle of a Friday evening, right, have just some minutes to do this praxis. That is the, let's say, the reflection and the practice and the do it again, just to reflect about our practices, and that we can embrace this conscientización that Paulo Freire talks about. That is this more than an awareness, not only of the teaching, but the passion we share, that we wanted really to share with you what we do every day, right? That is very similar in our EFL world everywhere, and here from the end of the world. Again, saying thank you to my wonderful colleagues and, let's say, my friends, right, that are always there with me when I say, let's go for this adventure. And Ana Paula and Romina, they are always just with a new adventure. And all of you that are fantastic people that wanted to share, right, this just humble, let's say, activity to do on a Friday evening. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Fabi, for this invitation, right? To have some minutes for reflection, right? Okay, we wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. It's been a pleasure. I think that now we can relax and finish our week in a very nice way. I will ask you to stay tuned because we have more surprises for you every single Friday. So get ready for next Friday, all right? And maybe, because of the matter of sound, maybe we can give everybody a clap using sign language to the great colleagues, right? So
Yeah,
clap to them. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for
so
being
much.
here.
It was amazing.
Thank you, Gisela. Thank you, Fabi.
Everybody, thank you,
Thank you.
Fabi, for this.
Thank you, Fabi. Thank you, Fabi. Right. Okay. So see you next Friday.
See you.
See you.
Next Friday it is.
See you.
Friday. Keep tuned.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.